What is up, champions? Welcome back to another off-stream reaction of JR Marks Reacts. Woo! Cheers. How are you champions doing? You're doing good? I hope so. By the way, yeah, I have been busy lately, as you guys could tell, since I've been streaming, but don't you worry, I'll be back tomorrow morning to do a new gameplay of Uncharted Lost Legacies. I mentioned that previously, as well as another Hangout stream, Champion Hangout Discord. So look forward to that. I'll be back free tomorrow to continue all the awesomeness with Noah and Vex and Jackson, all you champions. Shout out to all you new champions subscribing too. Appreciate that. Alright. So, can you guess what I'm about to react to? Dumb shit. Alright, here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Reacting to another Kamala Harris interview. I think she just did a recent one with some athletes interviewing her or something like that. I only saw a thumbnail. I don't actually know what it's about. I'll have to check it out my own time. Alright, so like, subscribe, check out MSNBC. I'm sure you already have heard of them or even seen this, but anyway, this is my 2 cents about it. And I'm an Australian, in case any of you liberal trolls aren't sure of that yet, so relax with your comments, okay? This is just my 2 cents, which is all opinions are worth.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future. Yeah. But still...
Sorry. Channel is MSNBC. Like, subscribe, check them out. All the good stuff. Kamala Harris first solo network interview as 2024 candidate. Is this her first interview? Technically first by herself, yeah. Tim Walz didn't have to hold her hand this time around. We can get into him with another video I do in the future. Alright, Kamala Harris, MSNBC. Let's check it out.
Still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do.
Oh my God. If you have the dreams and the aspirations and the goals and the achievements and the will to be part of the American success story, then my government's definitely for you. Let's see how far I can actually go from this video without it getting under my nerves. Can you tell? Okay.
You're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Is that because certain groups of American demographics were labeled bad by the government at the time? And certain people were said, if you keep a man out of the house, we'll pay you more for every child you have. Which in turn has created a large cycle of dependence on the government for basic needs instead of focusing on themselves or a man at home or a father to get those things done. I wonder what community that could be. Kamala Harris.
But not everyone, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And so my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which include, for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right? I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead. And I come from the middle class. Look, my mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard.
I came from the middle class. I really did. I came from the middle class. Mother worked so hard, and then she bought our first house when I was 15. Can you believe that? Can you also believe that I was vice president and still am vice president of the Biden presidency that caused all the problems they're now talking about as a campaign promise?
Isn't that ironic? All you American champions out there, I know you guys pay attention as much as I do.
She saved up. By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. And, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream. So part of my vision for the economy is let's deal with some of the everyday challenges that people face and address them with common sense solutions, such as affordable housing.
Nearly 4 years as vice president. You couldn't get some of that done? You couldn't have put a bill on Biden's desk? I know the guy is half brain dead, but you could at least coax him into signing something that would be a detriment for the majority of American people. If you did that during your term as vice president, you'd probably have more of a chance of being voted in as president. Did you ever think about that?
Over the last 4 years, there have been tremendous economic wins, and you've just laid out a big plan. But still, polling shows that most likely voters still think Donald Trump is better to handle the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, here's what I know in terms of the facts.
How could that be?
Donald Trump left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression, when you look at, for example, the employment numbers.
It was during COVID, and employment was so high because we shut down the government, we shut down the country.
Even before the pandemic, he lost manufacturing jobs by most people's estimates, at least 200,000. He lost manufacturing plants. Ask the auto workers.
Lies.
How he lost auto plants. We have grown over 20 new auto plants. He has an agenda. Let's just deal with right now going forward, not to mention what happened in the past. He has an agenda that would include making it more difficult for workers to earn overtime, an agenda that would include cutting off.
Lies, because even if you don't like Trump, and I've questioned Trump back in 2016 when he first became president. I was shocked, as like anybody else. But, things were better during his term as president. And everything that's going on now, Kamala's literally blaming on Trump, even though he's not in power. Do you see my frustration? And I'm sure a lot of you champion American frustrations with this lady.
Access to small business loans for small businesses, an agenda that includes tariffs to the point that the average working person will spend 20% more on everyday necessities and an estimated $4,000 more a year on those everyday necessities, to the point that top economists in our country, from Nobel laureates to people at Moody's and Goldman Sachs, have compared my plan with his and said my plan would grow the economy, his would shrink the economy. Some of them have actually assessed that his plan would increase inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. So the facts remain that Donald Trump has a history of taking care of very rich people. And I'm not mad at anybody for being rich, but they should.
Didn't you get like millions of dollars from the Biden administration since Biden's now resigning? So all that money and votes and news coverage has been given to you, Kamala Harris? She ain't a poor lady.
Pay their fair share, but tax cuts for the billionaires and the top corporations in our country, and then not really paying much attention to middle-class families.
Oh my God.
My perspective on the economy is when you grow the middle class, America's economy is stronger. And there's empirical evidence to prove my point correct.
Then let me ask you about taxes, because lots of people will say, I don't like Donald Trump, but he cut my taxes. He didn't just cut corporate taxes, he cut individual taxes. Now that expires next year, and there's some people confused saying,
And that lie earlier about,
He's going to charge more overtime.
actually, in his campaigns, he's going to end the tax on overtime and end the taxes on tips. No taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime. So people in those industries of work will be earning way more money when it comes to those demanding jobs. Hospitality, retail, customer service in general, all those industries are stressful enough. So it's even better now that if all the workers in America can get more money for their effort and less taxed. Isn't it a shame when somebody who wants to spread joy and happiness and just inspired of aspirations and dreams and the wokeness of American people is now using Trump campaigning points as if it was her own?
I don't know what's going to happen next year. Under a Harris administration, at what income level should someone expect their taxes to go up? And that state and local tax deduction that's currently capped and matters to a lot of people in blue states, are you going to lift that cap?
So, first of all, when it relates to anybody making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes will not go up. Your taxes will not go up. And in fact, under my plan, taxes for 100 million Americans will actually be cut, including $6,000 a year for young couples for the first year of their child's life in a tax cut, a tax credit, essentially, by expansion of the child tax credit. And why is that? Because during the first year of a young couple, of a person's child's life, they're going to need help buying a crib, buying
good.
a car
Hopefully
seat.
they can get it through.
And we all benefit when they're actually able to do what they naturally want to do to take care of their child.
All these lovely words are not the same as the actions needed to create these policies. So, Kamala Harris and Trump can talk a big game about what they're going to do if lucky enough to be president. Trump again, Kamala for the first time. But, we still have an actual recorded experience with Trump being president already, including myself as an Australian watching American politics from the outside in. So what you see is what you get with Trump, and all his voters and people that like him or even don't like him understand that already. They can't understand what they'll get with Kamala as president yet. Only time would tell.
And expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to raise.
Now, when somebody is asked a question like that, important question too, And so when your rebuttal is, oh, we're going to have to raise taxes. Do you see the contradiction? Is she really going to raise the taxes on the rich class of America?
We're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share. And it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
Bill Gates just said it this week. If he was in charge of taxes, he would have paid more. But how do you find that line to make sure corporations are paying their fair share, but they're not leaving our country?
Well, listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I have spent a lot of time with CEOs, and I'm going to tell you that the business leaders who are actually part of...
Hey, when it comes to about money, billions of dollars of money and finance, and whatever, Bill Gates saying,
I would pay more taxes if I was given the option.
I don't know if that's how he speaks. Whatever. I don't believe that. I'd listen to Elon Musk and his opinion about towards Kamala Harris about, taxes and regulations and getting more money in order to fulfill these promises to the American people that she claims to want to do. So time will tell.
Of the engine of America's economy agree that people should pay their fair share. They also agree that when we look at a plan such as mine that is about investing in the middle class, investing in new industries, investing in bringing down costs, invest in entrepreneurs like small businesses, that the overall economy is stronger and everyone benefits. Part of my plan for the economy is investing in new industries in a way that we have active partnership with the private sector. I've worked with the private sector my entire career. Even as vice president, working with some of the biggest banks and biggest tech companies to increase by billions of dollars the money going into community banks to increase access to capital for small businesses. Why do those biggest corporations and CEOs do that? Because they know those kinds of investments, like in our small businesses, in startups and entrepreneurs, actually strengthens America's economy overall, and everyone benefits. So this is not about bilking anybody, but it is certainly about saying, let's make sure that we create opportunities for everyone to grow wealth. I believe that it is not sufficient, and it should not be our goal to just make sure everyone is working. That should be the baseline. That should be a given. And let's create an economy where people have the ability to buy a home, to start a business, to take a nice vacation from time to time, right?
For people who want to buy a home, yes, getting a $25,000 kicker would be great. But it's not just affording a home. We don't have enough in this country.
You're absolutely right.
And one of the main problems are regulations and rules, strict rules at a local level. How does the federal government cut through all that red tape and get down to, the suburbs of Pittsburgh and say, we're going to have to build some affordable housing here? How do you connect the two?
So you're absolutely right. So across our country, people rightly are concerned about the cost of housing. So it's home ownership, to your point. We need more supply. That is, without any question, part of the solution. Creating more supply under my plan includes creating tax incentives to work with the private sector and home builders. Part of my goal in the plan would be to create 3 million new housing units for rent and for ownership by the end of my first term. It includes also what we must do to cut red tape. You're absolutely right. It takes far too long, and there's too much bureaucracy associated with home building. And I say that as a devout public servant. I know that we...
Sorry, that joke was way too white. Way too white. I do apologize.
have to reduce the red tape and speed up what we need to do around building. And that is going to require working from the federal level with state and local governments. And it's going to be different in different places, depending on the needs of that community, the needs of that local government, that municipality, but working in consultation and coordination and also around incentives that we can create. For example, some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing for working people.
Then let me ask you a business that matters a lot to this town.
Yeah.
U.S. Steel.
Yes.
Right? When you think Pennsylvania, when you think Pittsburgh, you got the Liberty Bell in Philly, and you got U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh.
That's right.
A Japanese company wants to buy them. You are opposed to this idea. Many people are. But if the deal doesn't go through, they have said people could lose jobs, they could close mills, they could leave the state of Pennsylvania. I mean, that is like moving the Liberty Bell to Newark. So which is more important?
It's most important that we maintain America's ability to have American manufacturing of steel by American workers for a number of reasons, which includes, again, back to the point of growing our economy and how I think about the economy overall, investing in new industries. There is not a new industry that I can imagine that is not going to require steel as a manufacturing of steel as a fundamental part of what it accomplishes. And
that's because we build things with steel. What's next for concrete industry?
You know, concrete, it's very hard. It's very concretable. And, you know, that, to me, that reminds me of the backbone of America, which is steel, concrete, gravel. I mean, it'd be a lot of mess too, so we need to invest in dumpsters.
What a dumpster fire this interview is. You're trash!
Having American workers in an American company manufacturing that steel for those new industries is going to be critically important, not only in terms of our economy, but also in the context of national security. Most people now realize if we didn't, before the pandemic, and the...
Let me throw in an olive branch, okay? Liberals that are going to hate this video anyway, because just they will. Feel free to send me all the comments. Because you know, I listen to everybody, including the liberals, even though half the time it's hard. I'll sit down and talk to anybody about politics or whatever's going on. And remember, I'm Australian, so no one get it twisted. I'm simply reacting to this, and so far I don't like it.
Strain on supply chains and an over-reliance on foreign manufacturing, that we have to be intentional about U.S.-based manufacturing. And of the products that we have to prioritize, steel is one of them. And that's always going to be my priority.
Steel workers matter in this country. Unions matter.
Yes.
In 2016, Donald Trump connected with unions. He saw them. There was an emotional connection. But what he didn't do was deliver policy. In the last 4 years, we have seen huge wins in this country for unions. But not all unions have gotten behind you. I want to understand, when the Teamsters decided not to endorse you, what was their reasoning? What are they looking for?
Well, let me go back to our just previous conversation. I'm very proud to have the endorsement of the steelworkers and almost every other major union in America.
Or maybe you could just answer the question given to you, instead of going back to a previous one. Look at the interviewer hiding behind his smiles.
Because I stand by workers, and I stand by the importance of being able to join a union and to understand the benefit and the value of unions. And I understand the importance of investing in new industries and working actively with the private sector to grow our economy.
But I'm asking because there's this idea we want something more from her. What is it?
Well,
Yeah,
here's
come on,
the thing.
answer the question.
Back to your point about previous election cycles. Donald Trump made a whole lot of promises that he did not meet, and one would argue broke. Look at Lordstown. He said he was going to...
Don't sell your homes.
Yeah, don't sell your homes. And what happened? It shut down. Outsourcing under Donald Trump. His policies that are about putting, tens to hundreds of % tariffs.
John Deere.
Yes. Yes. So part of the challenge, and I don't disagree that it's a challenge, got to earn the vote of everybody, is reminding people of fact, regardless of what somebody says in a small rally somewhere. And I think that's really important. And that's part of what I'm doing in this campaign, is to remind people, just like here in Pittsburgh, of the reality of who has stood with union labor, who stands for American manufacturing, who stands for American jobs.
Can I ask you about tariffs? Because you just mentioned it. It's not just with one company. Donald Trump's sort of big idea is this broad-based tariffs across the board. You and many others have said that would be not only disastrous, but it would be a direct tax on the American consumer.
It would be a sales tax on the American people. The independent economists have already measured this by the sales tax of doing a 20% tariffs on all imports.
Is she an alcoholic? Is she honestly to God an alcoholic? Or something? Maybe it's just the way she speaks, but I always have this underlining vibe that she takes something before she does the interviews, or something. Hey, I've been in a similar situation, I've been on stage talking to people, or talked to big groups before. I've had a beer or something, a drink for the liquid courage. I get it, I totally get it, but I mean, there's all these rumours that she is. Hey, politics is stressful to any person, let alone Kamala Harris, but it'd be funny. We find out through a leak or something that she's like just a full-blown alcoholic or something else.
Reports that he has described would be a 20% sales tax, in essence, on basic necessities for the average American worker, average American family, totaling almost $4,000 a year. That is no small matter.
Nope, it's actually tariffs, and that's why Biden and Kamala Harris haven't got rid of the tariffs Trump put in place, because it's actually bringing in a lot of money from exporting American goods to China and other places.
Matter. Here in Pittsburgh, when I'm talking to a group of folks who work here, who live here, and when they hear it might be $4,000 more a year for them, look, people can't afford that.
But tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, I'm going to, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues. And one must...
Coming from her, that's all I'll say. I'm not even going to make a joke or some kind of funny face or anything. That's a crazy statement. Whether you vote for Trump or not, that's still a crazy statement.
Must be serious and have a plan, and a real plan that's not just about some talking point ending in an exclamation at a political rally, but actually putting the thought into what will be the return on the investment, what will be the economic impact on everyday people. And when you look at my plans, you will see what those benefits will be. $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. You know what that means? Then you're creating the ability of that working person to build intergenerational wealth. Doing the work of a $6,000 child tax credit. Doing the work of a $50,000 tax deduction for first-time small businesses, startups, because right
That's
now
a real plan.
It's a real plan because right now, and again, it's about paying attention to the detail and being serious about it. I'm serious about my enthusiasm and my for small businesses and my belief in what they will do as part of America's economic engine.
On Friday, sorry.
So looking at the fact that right now the tax deduction is $5,000, nobody in this year of our Lord 2024 can start a small business with $5,000. Very few can. So extending it to $50,000 tax deduction for startups to generate the innovation and the ambition of the ideas that are present and among us, but need the fuel to be able to actually achieve the goal.
His plan is not serious when you lay it out like that, but a serious problem over the last few years has been inflation. Luckily, it's cooling, but prices are still high.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You said you want to take this on by going after those who engage in price gouging.
Yeah.
But as somebody who supports free markets, who's a capitalist, how do you go after price gouging without implementing price controls? Because once we get in this zone, people start to get worried and they say, I don't know what she stands for.
So just to be very frank, I am never going to apologize for going after companies and corporations that take advantage of the desperation of the American people. And as Attorney General, I saw this happen. In the midst of an emergency, whether it be an extreme weather event or even the pandemic, we saw it, where those few companies, not the majority, not most, but those few companies that would take advantage of the desperation of people and jack up prices. Yeah, I'm going to go after them. Yes, I'm going to go after them. And that is part of a much more comprehensive plan on what we can do to bring down the cost of living, including housing, including the everyday needs of the American people.
On Friday, you are going to the border. Immigration is complicated. One of the issues is an economic one. And no one is eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio, and I'm glad not to be talking about that. But there are people there that are stressed, that feel that they're at capacity. Communities around the country that have legal immigration, many have said, we're at capacity. And many feel like the government has said to them, well, adapt. Sit down, be quiet.
Interesting to hear
This is
her
how it
answer
is.
from this
what
part.
would a Harris administration do for those communities
The
who've
immigrants,
taken
the
in
migrants?
many legal immigrants but are at capacity?
Well, first of all, we do have a broken immigration system, and it needs to be fixed. And if we take a step back, months ago, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress came together with others, proposed a border security bill that would have put 1,500 new border agents on the border to help those hardworking border agents who are there right now working around the clock. Would have put more money into stemming the flow of fentanyl, which is killing Americans around our country and devastating communities. Would have put more resources into our ability to prosecute transnational criminal organizations, which in my career.
So why didn't you do anything in your 3.5 or so years as vice president? Oh wait, she couldn't because she wasn't the border czar. Oh wait, I thought she was. Didn't Biden say Kamala Harris is the border czar? But then they said she wasn't.
I've prosecuted. Donald Trump got word of the bill, realized it was going to fix a problem he wanted to run on, and told him to kill the bill, don't put it up for a vote. He killed a bill that would have actually been a solution because he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And that's part of what needs to be addressed. And my pledge is that when elected president, if the American people will have me, I will bring that bill back and I will sign it into law. And we need a comprehensive plan that includes what we need to do to fortify not only our border, but deal with the fact that we also need to create pathways for people to earn citizenship.
Then I want to just ask you about a little job and a big job.
Okay.
The first one, just a fact check. Okay. Because your opponent...
Immigrants, wherever they come from, that want to seek refuge in America and become a citizen, there's already ports of entry. There's already a way to become a citizen. Maybe it takes longer and there's a big list of immigrants who are waiting patiently, wishing it to speed up. I get that. Maybe there could be a policy to improve that. But the fact that all these migrants have come in to America under the Biden-Harris watch, and she keeps talking about this bill that if it was passed, it would have given thousands more agents to the southern border, which would have solved the problem. No. Maybe the fentanyl and immigrants could be handled better with more agencies, but the same volume of immigrants and drugs would still be coming towards America. Maybe it would be stopped more. Not completely, though. Yeah.
There is
Almost
no little
every
job.
day. Okay,
There's no such thing as a little job.
Okay, fair. Because your opponent almost every day seems to be talking about this. So I just want to ask you yes or no. At any point in your life, have you served 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working at a McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I worked at McDonald's.
Okay. Now the other job.
But it was not a small job. Like, I did the fries.
It was a small job. I did the fries. And I put the salt on them too. And I shaked it all up. Shake it up. Shake the fries up. Hey, I worked at McDonald's too. That was my first job ever. But that's still not a prerequisite for me to run a country.
I mean, yes,
okay, for a
but
small
I did.
period of time. But then let me ask about a big job.
But to your point, if you don't mind, before you
Please.
get to the big job, there's a part of the reason I even talk about having worked at McDonald's is because there are people who work at
She's
McDonald's
loving
in
it.
our country who are trying to raise a family. I worked there as a student. I was a kid who worked there trying to raise families and pay rent on that. And I think part of the difference between me and my opponent includes our perspective on the needs of the American people and what our responsibility then is to meet those needs.
Then to the big job. You have
Trump's whole slogan is "Make America Great Again." That is an umbrella term for what American people, citizenry, needs to improve their lives. That means better job opportunities. That means better taxes or less taxes, more profits, working a job than being taxed more. All this stuff Trump has covered. Yet Kamala Harris and even Tim Walz and their Democratic Party, all of that stuff, they keep using the same rhetoric that Trump doesn't give a shit about any of that or hasn't done anything to help that, when he clearly has. That's what I find annoying. I'm like, yeah, you can say this, and this about each other when you're in a competition to becoming president. I get that, but it still has to be genuine instead of just smoke blowing up your ass.
laid out policy in great detail.
Yeah.
But the economy is an unpredictable beast. And you are running for a job that takes extraordinary instinct and guts.
Yeah.
What's the last time you had to make a gut decision? This here is very prescribed, it's very controlled.
Yeah. Probably the biggest gut decision I've made most recently is to choose my running mate. Yeah. There were lots of good, incredible candidates. And ultimately that came down to...
Oh, you mean Tim Walz, the guy who's way more effeminate than you are whenever they're on a stage doing a rally? Kamala's like, hi, I just so love your aspirations and dreams and spirit. And then Tim Walz is like, oh, yes, oh, cheerleader. Oh. Kicking his feet up in the air. Man, that was such a gut decision.
To a gut decision.
I know I'm out of time, but then I just want to ask you a question from my gut.
Okay.
Because today we're talking about we're talking about the economy.
Yeah.
And people don't think often about reproductive rights being an economic issue, but it is. a woman's ability to plan her future, her education, her life. Today, and in the last few days, Donald Trump keeps talking about it and how in overturning Roe v. Wade, he helped women. He protected women. He says they're miserable today. They're poorer today. They're more vulnerable today. He said he will be the protector of women if elected. Can you respond to that?
So Donald Trump is also the person who said women should be punished for exercising a decision that they rightly should be able to make about their own body and their future. So I think we would all agree that as a result of that perspective that he has about women, he also then chose 3 members of the United States Supreme Court who did as he intended, undid the protections of Roe v. Wade, and now in state after state, you see laws being passed that do punish women. Laws that, I mean, most recently, a heartbreaking story resulted in a young woman dying, a mother of a 6-year-old. Heart-wrenching stories. And that's for the listener, much less their family. So, look, I think the thing about Donald Trump is that, you know, I don't think the women of America need him to say he's going to protect them. The women of America need him to trust them.
Can we trust you?
Yes. Yes. I am not perfect, but I will tell you, I'm always going to put the needs of the people first.
Madam Vice President, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
I think that's the most genuine statement she said at the very end. I'm not perfect, but I genuinely have the thoughts of American people with me. I believe that. I do actually believe that. Time will tell. And there you go. There we go, champions. That was the Kamala Harris MSNBC interview. I had some interesting opinions about what she said and stuff, because same talking points she has said in other interviews and in rallies and stuff. And look, if that's the main issue, like trying to figure out what she about and like how genuine she really is, and like this flip-flopping, and I know a lot of the media says a lot of things about her which aren't necessarily true compared to what they say about Trump. But you know, hey, either Trump wins and has already got experience being president and things will improve better and good luck to him, or it'll be President Kamala Harris, which I know will be a big thing for a lot of people because she's a woman and a person of color. I get that, but still, I hope she actually does have serious plans of action if she wins, instead of just bringing the joy. But apart from that, thank you all, you champions that'll react to this once it's uploaded. Like, subscribe to my channel, JR Marks, J-R/MARKS. That's my initials of my first name and last name. Become a champion today. Doesn't cost you anything. Appreciate all you political champions out there in America and elsewhere. I'll see you guys for the next stream.